Hello, everyone. Welcome to our circle. Today, we have with us Christina Kottori. Right now, she happens to be in Bali because she went there for a festival, and now she's stuck there until the end of May, which is awesome for her. And she is a specialist in the Greek archetypes and mythology, and she's actually developing a whole body of work around initiations with the Greek archetypes and how to embody them. And so I'd like you to meet Christina Kottori. Hi, Christina.
Hi, Cecily.
Thank you for
Thank you for
joining.
inviting me here.
Thank you so much. It's so fun to see Bali. And we were talking a little bit before, and I could hear the birds. I used to actually live in Bali, and I could hear the birds, and I see the roof and all the carved windows. So it's actually really fun for me to see the flower in your hair. And it's beautiful. That you have the glow, the Bali glow.
Yeah, it's beautiful here. I feel good.
I'm glad. I'm so glad for you. So I'm really, really fascinated by what you're teaching and what you're doing. And oh, I should mention that Christina and I met in Crete 1.5 years ago. She was part of a workshop that I was at, and she was so fascinating, and I've stayed in contact with her. At that workshop, she also was sharing about her knowledge with the Greek gods and goddesses. So I'm sorry now. Christina, can you take over and tell us about what you're doing?
So what I want to share just a bit small of my experience, because what I am doing is something I started to do, and I was motivated to do because I had a personal experience with the archetypes. So I started a journey 2012 with the Greek archetypes, and being initiated to each archetype in a very mystical way with a very great teacher, and I'm very grateful for that. So I started to awaken through this process and to realize the connection with the divine within me through the initiations into its archetype, and to explore myself through these archetypes, and to learn more about the symbolic teachings and the esoteric teachings, and how rich is this culture, and how many things we don't know, because we know just the surface of what is every archetype, and we haven't really gone like deeper into that. So my journey, let's say, was apocalyptic, was a revelation, and then I started to want to share that with the world, and I wanted to combine, in a way, to put all the pieces of the puzzle together, and I wanted to combine everything that I've done, everything that I've studied, because yeah, I like, it's like healing arts, let's say, because I consider myself an artist. I'm an actress, and I love like storytelling also, and I love drama therapy, and also I've been like traveling the last 5 years around the world, learning many different things, gaining knowledge about many esoteric teachings. So I wanted to combine all these things, having as a base, having as a root my lineage, and how can I bring this wisdom back in the world, and how can I convey that to people in a different way, so that they can experience it, they can feel what it is to be, for example, Artemis, to be Aphrodite, to, you know, to live it, because it's what we say, like, I really like this word in English, it's like a transmission, right? So a transmission, it's not something you can see or you can touch, is something that it comes to you, you know, like a radiance.
Yeah.
And that's something like you receive like in your cells. So it is something that I received personally, and that's something I want to give to people also.
Can you tell me,
Um,
sorry, how did you receive, that's kind of fascinating. How did you receive this transmission? Was it in your mystical dance that you do, or something else?
Well, in different stages of my journey, I've received transmissions of the divine in different, let's say, archetypes. And that was like through grief, through extreme joy, through extreme beauty. And what I want to say is like the intention. So when I had the intention and I put it there and I was open, this thing was happening. There is a Greek word called methexis. Methexis is when people, for example, were having this direct connection, like, you know, when you're in a temple and you're just praying and then just like something hits you like a lightning bolt and then you just feel it in your body and maybe you start to shake or something. So that was like a word that the Greeks used to describe this shower, let's say, when you have like this I don't know, like this energy in your body and you just feel it and you just say like, oh, I just felt it right now, it's here.
Yeah.
So I had that moments like that in my life. I remember, first of all, it was this workshop I did about Artemis. And we were doing this process because we were exploring Artemis as, let's say, the symbol of eternal, like she's pure. And she is, and she has like complete faith in herself. She's like, so like Artemis, let's say, she's this archetype that she protects teenagers. She's a protectress of teenagers, and also she was accompanying women to get married. In Greece, there is this very beautiful temple of Artemis, and there were like women would go there to prepare themselves before wedding. So we were exploring that in ourselves, and I remember I had this moment that I just like, I never had that before in my life. It was like the first time I remember. And I remember that I felt like within my body, like this electrification that I didn't know how to understand it, but I was just feeling it all over my body, you know, numbing.
Yeah.
And then I start to cry and like weep. But it was so cathartic because I just felt it, you know, it was like, I was like, wow, what was that now? So there was like one moment that I really felt that, okay, something is happening right for me right now. Something is opening through this exploration. And I'm feeling it in my body. I don't really know what it is, but I know it's true. You know, when you know something is true.
Yeah.
You just feel it.
It's so exciting. I'm kind of fascinated about Greece and the temples. Where is this temple of Artemis that you're talking about, by the way?
So this temples of Artemis is a bit outside of Athens. It's like 1 hour outside of Athens. The place is Vravrona, and it's a very well preserved temple. It's very close to the sea.
Okay.
And it has, I went there like 2 years ago and 1 year ago, and I saw something I've never seen in my life. So there was this olive tree, you know, like Greece has a lot of olive trees, and it's like our national, like say, symbol. And this olive tree had the biggest olives I've ever seen in my life. Like this olive tree was in the temple. It should be very old. and had olives that were like huge olives. Like I've never seen these olives ever, ever, ever.
At the Temple of Art.
Yes.
Why do you think?
Yes.
It was just so that it was just, they were growing like that?
You know, like my research and my inner knowing says that, you know, like every country has its own medicine, you know?
Yes, absolutely.
Because of the geomorphological, let's say, peculiarity. So Greece's medicine is olive. And the olive oil actually, and I don't say that because I'm Greek, but everybody says that, like the olive oil, the quality of olive oil in Greece is exquisite. And that's because like also the quality of the light that there is in Greece. And I will talk about that furthermore. But what I wanted to say is that there is a saying about the golden dragon. So I like, the golden dragon of Greece is actually the olive oil, and knowledge I've received through my dreaming, because I'm a dreamer and I ask things in my dreams, is that this is the secret to longevity. Mm. The secret to longevity for Greeks, or I don't know, for others, is olive oil.
Yes. And beauty, I think.
This is our medicine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had an experience that same time that I was there. I'd been to Italy, Spain, and each country had a different vibe. When I got to Greece, it was like just light and consciousness and higher vibration. And I thought, well, no wonder all these great teachings came out of Greece so long ago. And then I learned that the word elas actually means there's light in the stones. And there is light in the stones. Like there's really something about Greece that's incredible. That's all I was going to say.
I want to talk about a very sacred place in Greece that I visited last year. And I was astonished by the energy there. It's called Vilos. It's a very small island in the middle of Aegean. And it's where now it's like an archaeological site. Nobody lives in this island. But it is said to be the place where Apollo was born, Apollo and Artemis. So Apollo and Artemis were twins. Apollo is the god of sun. Artemis is the lunar goddess. So their mother, Elito, brought them to life there. And this is like a very sacred place where in the ancient times there were many temples, not only Apollo's temple. And people from all around Mediterranean would go there, like it was a station, let's say. And what we know, Vilos is very close to Mykonos. I'm sure everybody knows Mykonos.
Okay.
And you can only go by boat, like daily excursion right now, to just visit like the archaeological site. But what is very interesting with that island is that they had chosen that island, and the mythology said that it was like a comet that fell from the sky, this island, because it's kind of like an alien, material, this island. And they had chosen this island because the verticality of the light is so unique, and like the I don't know how to even explain it, but it's like the lightness, how the light reflects is so bright that it's like unique in the world. And that is why they say like Apollo was born there, because the light there is something extraordinary.
Isn't he the god of the sun, Apollo?
Apollo is the god of the sun. Yes, he represents the light. And some people also have, like you can compare him like with some people say like Apollo could be the Christ, it's like the same thing, let's say, right? The light. It represents the light.
Golden light. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Mm.
So I've been exploring also the
Fascinating. I love what you're talking about.
the temples in Greece, you know, and why did people like made their temples? Because they had a knowledge that we don't even understand how they were getting it. Because, for example, there is sacred geometry, let's say in the temples in Greece. So, for example, the temple of Acropolis with the temple of like they create like sacred triangles,
Yeah.
which have the same like how to say the same distance.
Okay. And I heard that like even the columns at the Acropolis, they're not exactly straight. They actually go up so that they reach a certain star. I forgot which one, but it's all very mystical. And how did they have this kind of technology to build such incredible buildings with such precision in a time where
I
we,
know there was something going on that still
yeah, we don't know.
we're not aware of, but for sure I understand that there is a knowledge that we haven't yet appreciated, and studying more the Greek language, because we know we have the ancient Greek and the modern Greek. It's somehow connected, but modern Greek is very simplified. So ancient Greek is so fascinating because the more I study, the more I understand that the spirit of this language is embedded in the words, and they were so wise
They're so wise.
of everything that when I learn it, it's like my mind is blown away. You know.
Yes. I've learned some words too, and now I can't remember, but the knowledge inside of it is, it'll just blow your mind and change your life. Like actually, I always intend to study it, and then I don't, but it's amazing. I'm glad you're teaching us. Thank you.
For example, what I learned recently, and I didn't know, is this word that we all use, phoni, you know? Phoni in Greek is the voice.
Uh-huh.
So we know like the telephone and the microphone. So we use it like globally, phoni. Phoni is the voice in Greek. And it comes from two words, phos, which in Greek means light, and nous, which is the mind, like the intellect. So phoni is what gives light to your intellect.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So it was like, wow, it's so simple, but I never thought about it, you know?
Yeah. So light to your intellect, meaning that when you're speaking, you're able to light and share the light of what your intellect has. Right? Is that what you mean? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like putting like I give light to my mind. So, you know, when something is there is still unexpressed, but when I put it out, I give it light.
That's so fascinating. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, can you tell me more about the archetypes and the initiations that you're doing?
Yeah, I want to say that the archetype that I've worked more, and it's you know, one of my like favorites, let's say, is Persephone. And as a person with Aphrodite in Scorpio, it's something that excites me. So I want to talk a bit about Persephone because this myth of Persephone was actually the myth for where the ancient mysteries of Greece were based on. So the ancient mysteries of Elefsina, the ones that were happening every year in Athens for thousands of years, were based on the myth of Persephone. And I want to talk a bit about that, like the place where the temple of Dimitra was. Dimitra is the mother of Persephone. She is like the Mother Earth, let's say. She was the one that was like responsible for the harvest and cultivation and changing of the seasons. And her daughter was Persephone. So they built this temple in the in the ancient times in the place of Elefsina. And Elefsina means in Greek ascension, liberation. So people were going there, being initiated into the mysteries in order to ascend. And I wanted to connect that with what is happening.
In English, we call that the Eleusinian mysteries, not Elef, but it's the same word, Elef. I know you're saying it actually the right way. I'm just saying, clarifying.
Yeah, thank you for saying, so people will understand what I'm talking about. So in Greek, we call it Elefsina, and it comes from the word elefso, that means I reveal myself, I ascend.
I reveal myself?
Yes.
My true self. I reveal my true self, therefore I ascend. Incredible.
So people were going there. The Eleusinian mysteries were conducted every September for 9 days. So people would walk through the sacred road. It's called the sacred road, and it's still the same. From Athens to Elefsina, they would walk all this way to go there and be initiated. And actually, these mysteries were an initiation to death.
Okay.
And I feel that this is very connected to what is happening today, because people were going through this process in order to be able to live, like they had this wisdom that if you don't go through this initiation and you live with the fear of death, then you don't actually live. You're always afraid. So the myth of Persephone actually is about death, because Persephone goes into the underworld. And because, like Pluto, like Hades comes and abducts her and takes her down. She was like this maiden, and she was like, at the beginning, she was afraid and she was resisting it. But then, like Hecate went to her and told her, look, child, you like, in order to go up again to the upworld and to meet your mother again, you need to fall in love with Pluto. But Pluto actually represents the darkness. So unless you fall in love with the darkness, with your shadow, you can't go up in the light again. And in the mysteries, people would be initiated into death through some, we don't really know, because they were not allowed to speak about the mysteries, but it was something that they were scared to death, let's say, like different, things that they were really scared. So I know that they were underground, some like caves that people were put there. And like we have now the dark rooms or whatever. So 9 days they would go through different initiations, guided by the Hierophants. And also what we don't know and what is not said is that also during the mysteries, people would drink from this potion called Elisivodis Oliras, that was like a fermented barley, and had the same, effect like LSD.
Wow.
So they were going also through this medicine journey as well.
Never heard about that increase. I always thought they were, I didn't know about this. Okay. I mean, not pure, but you know what I mean? I just didn't know. Okay.
Yeah, it's not very well, like spread it. Somehow people don't talk about it, but I've done a research around that. And it's very interesting because after all this initiation, after 9 days, people would say like, Kottori is like the daughter, and Persephone was called Kottori. So, like γεννήθηκε. So they were saying that they saw her rebirthed. Like, after all this, it was like after 9 days in the underworld, they were coming up in the light like Persephone.
They would stay there during this ritual for 9 days?
Yeah. And that was an experience that every Athenian citizen would like experience in their lifetimes. So every year, thousands of people were initiated.
Wow.
There would be like 1,000 or 2,000 doing that.
When you're ready, or was there a certain age for when they would do it, or just when it was your time?
It was about if they were ready, because there was like a preparation for that. They started 6 months to have a certain diet, you know, to prepare themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It was a whole like ritual, you know, like when they were chosen to do that.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
When did they stop doing this?
When Christianity came.
So like 1,500 years ago or so?
Like 2,000 years.
Yeah, okay.
Something like, yeah.
Oh, I love it. Tell me more. That's so interesting.
It is very interesting. And
have you gone and spent like 9 days there, or done some kind of a ritual there?
well, now it's an archaeological site. You can only go and visit. The sad thing is that around this area, which is so sacred, and Greeks are not really appreciating the space there. Like they haven't opened the under, you know, like scene for people to, or for them to explore, for people to see. So they haven't really, you know, like taken advantage of the place and do a research. And it's very sad that around this area is like a big industry area. So all the oil companies are around this area right now.
Petroleum.
Yes. I think it's something that, you know, it's on purpose, because they wanted to devalue this area. And I was like, has been for thousands of years, thousands of years where people were being initiated there. And then they filled it like with oil companies.
That's devastating.
It is, truly.
I read that Greece has been inhabited since 70,000 BC. Like it's really ancient.
It is. And my intention is to, you know, to find these like little pearls of wisdom that what gave birth to that civilization, and where is it gone now? Why it seems to me that people right now have lost this connection, and I want to bring it back, because it's there, like it's been given from our ancestors, and the land is screaming, you know, it's everywhere. And
you feel it walking in places. It's just like it's there. It's there.
it's there. We just need to take the thread and keep going. We lost the thread.
Wow. God, I love what you're doing. I had no idea. I knew you were fascinating, but I didn't know you've been doing this. So this was Persephone, who's right now you're most fascinated with, right?
Yeah, Persephone, she's like this goddess that she was going like 6 months underworld and then 6 months on the upper world, also symbolizing, you know, the changing of the seasons, and also like the cycle of life, that we are like constantly into circles, you know, going from dark to light, from dark to light, death, life, the polarities, actually the balance of the opposites she represents, yin and yang, let's say, you know.
And facing kind of like, is she also about facing the shadow, our own shadow?
Yeah, she's facing the shadow because she fell in love with the god of the underworld. She fell in love with the darkness, and then she gave birth to this child called Vrimos, which in Greek means strength. So through this journey that she went into the underworld, she gave birth to strength. And this is the journey that we all know, that once we go into a very dark journey, then we go up and we're just like feel different. We feel more strong, even though when we're there, we don't like it.
Right. No, it's true. I actually didn't know she was in love with Hades, because I don't think in any version I've ever heard they said that. They were always like, oh, she's a victim down there and somebody has to come save her. But actually she was in love with the bad boy down there in Hades. Yeah, and she stayed.
Yeah,
I
she
didn't.
did. After all, she did.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's cool.
She resisted it at the beginning.
Did, huh? Oh well. Hard to resist.
And actually, you know, like Persephone meets Hecate in the underworld, and which is the goddess of the queen of the underworld, Hecate. She's like the crown. And then on the upworld, there is Demetra, her mother. So actually, this is like the triple goddess of Greece, maiden mother crown, Persephone, Demetra, Hecate is the triple goddess. This symbol.
Why do you think the crone is the goddess of the underworld? Because of her experience and because she's comfortable with all that, or
yeah, she's the wise old crone that she's very comfortable into being in the darkness. She has like gained all this wisdom,
seen it all.
and you know, she's like this. She has like these roots. She has like this. She's like earthy. She has like this very, very earthy quality. She lives underworld. So
Is she considered scary? Like
no, it could be for people who are not ready for her.
Like Kali, but yeah, but Kali's
no, not in that way scary. I wouldn't say that. Hecate has like this very grounded energy and very wise. She's like this wise woman. She's like has this stillness, and yeah, like she will whisper you the truth. She has this like let's imagine like she lives in the roots of the tree of life.
Wow, that's cool. I like it.
Yeah.
I just have to imagine that, like, she's kind of gnarly and twisty and going deep and super grounded and patient. Yeah. You know what? I was always thinking she's so scary, but the way you describe it, she's not at all scary. I like it. Thank you. Thank you so much. And okay, so before we started, you were talking to me about how to embody the myths of the different gods and goddesses. I think that's what you were talking about. And have you described that part, or is that something else?
Yeah, so this is a journey I'm really fascinated every time, because I like to go into, you know, like the psychology of the character of every archetype, and so what I like to do is first to do like a storytelling, you know, to put people in the myth, to put people what is happening, and then in the same time to guide them through, you know, certain like emotions that was happening to every character. And so for example, I love also the myth of Eros and Psyche. It also represents like the journey of the soul, and you know, like what it takes for a soul to find love, actually, right at the end too, which is
refresh our memory of the story and tell us the story.
The story of Eros and Psyche, where like Psyche was this daughter of this king in Greece. He had like 3 daughters. She was the most beautiful one. Like her beauty was stunning. She was exquisite beauty. And her 2 other sisters were married. But she was not married yet, and she was really sad because she's like, oh, I would love to, you know, find love and be married. And then her parents took her to the Oracle of Delphi to ask, like, what will happen with her daughter? Like, will she get married? And so they went there, and the Oracle said that she has like a horrific, let's say, fate, because he sees this like big snake coming to get her. And like, this is her fate, and her parents should guide her to this place so this big snake would come and get her. So they were all shocked, but they accepted the fate. And even though it was devastating for them, they took her, you know, there, because it was a message from the gods. So they took her there, and then it was like at the edge of a hill, and then they left her there. So something came and took her, and actually it was the wind called Zephyros, and it took her to this place which was like a golden palace. You know, it was like, it had a huge garden, a golden palace, and there, you know, she was treated like a queen, and she had like this husband, but she couldn't see him. And he came only at night to meet her. And she was having like a great time there. She was like having everything she wanted, everything, like luxury and abundance and a husband, but she couldn't see him. So after a while, she started to feel nostalgia for her family. So she asked her husband, can I tell my sisters to come and meet me? And he said, yes, but mark me, like, take care, because your sisters, you know, may, you know, like pull you back in a way, tell you things are not good for you. Yeah. So she insisted and said, no, please, dear husband, I want to have my sisters here. So her sisters came, and then what happened actually, where they were very jealous of her life, and they start to put seeds of doubt in her. So they start to say, but who is that husband? And why he doesn't show up himself? Maybe he's like this beast. Maybe he's like this big snake. Maybe he's like a very old man. So it's like, you know, like they start to put these doubts on her. And then, what I didn't say is that her husband asked her from the beginning that she should trust and never, ever go to, you know, to reveal his identity. Mm-hmm. She should just trust. Mm-hmm. But then, like, after her sisters came, like, all these doubts were born into her. And then one night she took the candle and went to their bed to see, like, who is this person that she's married to. And then she went with a light, with a candle, and she saw like the most beautiful, astonishing man she ever saw. Like, it was Eros, it was the son of Aphrodite. Yeah. So she was like, and then as she was like shocked, she accidentally dropped a piece of, you know, like candle on his shoulder, and then he woke up and he saw her, and he was like, you know, I told you to trust me, and now I'm going, you know, you lost me. And then he just flies up in the sky. And then there is this very beautiful drawing also that we see where Psyche is holding his, you know, foot, and when he's flying. And she was actually, and then she fell because she couldn't like hang there, and then she fell, and then starts like a very, very, you know, like sad journey for her, because she starts looking at him everywhere, she can't find him. And then she decides to go to Aphrodite to ask her where is her son. And Aphrodite, that she didn't really like her, she was also kind of jealous of her, because she was also very beautiful, like competing Aphrodite's beauty. So she's like, okay, in order to for me to tell you where is my son, you need to go through these tasks. So there were certain tasks that I won't go into details now, because every task also symbolizes something, but she made her go through different tasks, and then when she completed these tasks, anyway, she found Eros again, and he forgave her, and then they united in love. It's a very, very beautiful love story, and I've been teaching that story, and it's one of my favorites. Like how you know, like the soul. What are the you know, like what is the process, you know, we all go in order to find this love first within us, right? It's like always to find this self-love. But it's a very beautiful story. And
Love and trust, right?
during the embodiment process, let's say that we go through visualization, we go through dancing, we go through breathing. And like my intention is every time to bring you the experience that the hero or heroine is going through embodiment practices. And the background, there is always the storytelling. So you're always in the frame of the story, and you are becoming, you know, you're becoming Psyche, you're becoming Eros. So it's very beautiful.
Oh, that must be so enriching for people. They must have really deep experiences. I mean, just
It
listening.
is.
Yeah. So is part of the lesson of that story, like when you're in love, you know how there's always some women going, well, don't are you not supposed to listen to those women? Just stay with your heart and your purity and trust? Or do you think
But
that's
also like this, their sisters actually is like the part of us that doubt, you know, that many times we doubt. There's like these voices that come, you know, that, oh, it's too good to be true, or there should be something there, or no, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true.
Everything is us in this story, like everything is an esoteric.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a really brutal mirror, that story, reflection of behavior, human behavior and love. But it's
Exactly.
a very good lesson. Very
Yeah.
good lesson, actually. Wow. So you work with people, different groups doing this stuff? This way?
Yeah, I do that like in different groups, and I've worked also in festivals, or giving workshops and working with people.
That's so exciting. Is there any kind of an experience that you can give us, like a very short one today?
No, it's just like, you know, that
You already had a lot.
it's very personal. It's very personal how people can receive that, but you know, like it's always very interesting. You know, some people are so. I remember like once, like people were so excited, and they were just like, "Oh, thank you so much! Like you just gave me another perspective." And you know, I could. It's so like for me, the most like pleasing thing or satisfying, let's say, is when I see that light in people's eyes. You know, when you remember something, it's not that I tell something new, but it's like part of my path is like, okay, to remind people this light that we have inside. And I'm so excited when people just say, like, that was like amazing, you know, it's like,
Yeah. Oh my God. So I have another question for you about your mystical dancing that you do. Like I've seen you dancing. I've danced with you too. I mean, with your instruction, and it's really something. Is it something that you weave into the archetypal studies, or is it?
yeah. So the mystical dance, I realized that it's something very simple for us women, you know, like because we have our womb. Our womb is our sacred temple that resides within our hips, right? So when you start to hip rocking, it literally shifts your, like, it helps you to shift paradigms.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you know, like in homeopathy, when they give you this medicine, you have to shake it in order to dynamite, to make it potent.
Yeah.
They say before you take the medicine, you should shake it,
Mm-hmm.
because this is when you, yeah,
So you potentize yourself by doing your little.
exactly.
Nice.
So this is dance. You potentize yourself, and you understand, you know, like that how like you embody the regenerative earth cycle, because the earth is keep moving, you know, it's like this. So when you embody that, then you align with a cycle, with a rhythm of life, and something happens there. Like when you move your hips, something happens.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, when you were doing that, I started doing it too, and I was like, wow, feels good.
Yeah, and you know, there is a lot of shame around that, especially for women, because you know we have been called a seductress, and then when we move our hips, that we are too sexual, you know. So there is a stigma around that, and I understand why a lot of women are, you know, subconsciously, let's say, avoiding to do that a lot, because you know there is a restriction there, or you know, to that you may be called a slut, or you know.
Yeah.
So I think we are getting out of that slowly by claiming back, you know, this natural movement that actually came from the temples. This movement, in order for women to have a better birth.
Mm-hmm.
So when women, you know, were embodying this movement first in their hips, because they helped them to have a better birth, also to be more fertile. And what happened is, like, they started to imitate the movement also of the snake. So back in the times, they would have snakes in the temples, and they would like imitate the movement of the snakes.
Wow. Temples in Greece or India, or which temples?
Temples in Greece, I've read. I'm sure it was happening also in Egypt, because we are very connected.
Yeah, totally. How much time do you spend dancing per day, per week, to keep that Shakti flowing?
It depends. Other times more, other times less. But it's something, I would say, it's there, and it's igniting every time, you know. It's like sometimes, like, I spent like a week without dancing, because I don't know, I may be in a very mental process or whatever, but then it's like always there. Like when I get in, it's like, oh, it's here, you know. It's just like I feel like this fire, like
Yeah, that's so good. I love it. I want to dance. Wow, I want to dance now. Oh, that's so good. So, Christina, how can people, how could you instruct them a little bit how to do that kind of dance that would open up their Shakti flow?
Well, you know, it's like I would say, just like to start, because what comes right now is just to start like circling,
Mm-hmm.
just
Okay.
like just start to circle the hips. You know, I think this is very important in order to shaktify, let's say, right, or to awaken the snake that is being sleeping. Just to like start to just to circle and just see what happens, you know. And do it like for you know, like 10 minutes, I don't know, just like keep circling your hips, keep circling your hips. It's a trance, you know, it can take you to places.
Yeah.
So this is one thing I can say right now.
I
So
love
to circle.
love it. Thank you. So, Is there a place where you have like a website or anything that if people could wanted to reach you to maybe work with you in any way?
Well, it's something that is on how to say, it's on an ongoing process. The website will be out as soon as my masculine puts me into this.
I get it. It's hard. That part's hard when you're
All
so
right.
flowy. I know that's not my favorite part either. Okay. Thank
So
you.
it's something that is going to happen because it's one of my intentions. But like people can reach out for me in Facebook if they want to know more. And yeah, it's going to come soon.
Oh, Christina, thank you so much. That was just the most fascinating talk and information that you shared with us. I mean, it was so deep. Makes me want to head to Greece right away, but only if you're there too. Thank you.
For sure.
You ever lead people on trips, like, you know, to some of those?
Yeah, it's something also that is I've done it like personally, like with people individually, and I would like to start to doing it with groups.
Yeah.
Also like sacred pilgrimages, and you know, because there are so many different places in Greece that I've visited, and I want to share that experience with other people.
Yeah. Oh my God, I would love to do that with you. Okay, Christina, thank you so much. I'm so grateful.
Thank you, Susie.
Thank you for being with us in our circle. And until next time, I always get teary at this part. Much love. Bye.
Yes. Bye.